updates. Bush, President IX, he's one of the co-chairs of our workgroups. And I think Michael Palmer was slightly he's not here. I think he was. He's here. Yeah, Michael. That's good.
Mike's here, but he's in the back.
Hi all.
Palmer's in the back.
Oh, Palmer's in the back.
Palmer, get yourself
He's
up
here,
here.
he's coming. He's making an appearance here.
Making a late entry.
This thing?
Yeah.
So many people.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, I'm Richard Bush. Michael Palmer, we co-chair the working group, and we're going to step through the status that we have, what we've been working on, what we're working on, what we have been working on, what we're going to work on in the future, and just give you a little bit of a framework before we just dive into the details today. So we've got 150 plus member companies who participate, 300 individual members plus, and 3 focus areas which we'll go into. This has been growing off the initial interest from a year and a half ago, just over a year and a half ago now.
Richard, we're at our 2-year anniversary in June.
Oh, wow, time's flying. 2-year anniversary in June, like Michael said. So I can see a lot of faces here in the group here, so thank you for turning up today to support. So we think about the blockchain working group under these use cases. So the first is, at its core, is a distributed ledger technology, which is essentially a shared database. It provides a trusted and transparent. To the capabilities that blockchain bring forward is cryptography. So we think about this securing transactions, ultimately being able to authenticate against the system which is lacking of the traditional protocols that exist. And ultimately, there's more reliability in the network. Something that we talk about a lot, and I think is central again to blockchains, is the idea of a consensus mechanism and joint incentive to participate in an ecosystem. Ultimately, that should help move forward and enables compliance, better governance. Although I would say we haven't quite yet, as an industry, got to the full consensus. It's certainly, we recognise that's something that we can come to in the future as a characteristic we need to leverage. And then, of course, a key component of the blockchain is this idea of a smart contract, which ultimately we see as a way to implement business rules, which is something that, with all of the other capabilities around consensus, cryptography and the distributed nature of the ledger. Smart contracts can also be self-enforcing, which is another aspect of automation, which we have had challenges with in our industry, and ultimately this is disintermediating transactions. So this is how we think about, from a blockchain working group perspective, this is how Michael and I and Shelley, as the co-chairs and the lead, think about it. And so we also have a framework which I want to just step through briefly, because we had to put a structure around this whole project, given that some different approaches can be taken to implementing solutions, blockchain solutions in the market. Some of them come in as a kind of one-stop shop of everything that replaces the whole stack, and some of them are piecemeal. So we use this structure to really think about what actor in the ecosystem is really being influenced, or needs to be influenced, or is involved in the whole process. I don't need to tell you about this. You work in industry. I would assume that this is the buyers on the left there, the sellers on the right. Ultimately, those are the actors. Down the centre, we really see the process that we go through in a very summarised form. And if you step through, you'll see that we are securing and ultimately controlling with smart contracts the middle to the centre process. Providing a consensus mechanism in an area where there really needs to be a consensus because of challenges we've created for ourselves in the ecosystem, and ultimately provide payments. Now, you'll hear a lot today about the difference between cryptocurrency. I shouldn't say a lot, but we certainly hear about the difference between cryptocurrency and blockchain. And we're not necessarily saying with payments that it has to be a cryptocurrency. We're really talking about just settling payments between parties and recording that process. And different people are taking different approaches to that. So that will be part of the conversation today, particularly I think in the reconciliation. Michael, do you want to talk through the working group focus?
Sure. There's been a lot of progress actually. We did our first kickoff like 18 months ago. Wow. Like we were really heavily weighted towards the education side because at that point, terminology was still up in the air. I mean, even like the very early members, people leading companies, we start talking like, what do you mean by that? Or like, let's settle. So we moved a long way. Big thing, a couple people in Europe have been really helpful with it. I mean, I like to call out Miguel and his team and several of the other people working with him along with the privacy chain effort. We've gotten the technology primer out. That's been huge because that's actually helped us standardize terminology. And we continue to have events like this one to continue to keep the conversation going forward. If you look around the room, there's a lot of leaders here. This is still a very early phase. Our industry is still climbing on the blockchain. You guys go to a larger IAB event, you're going to have a lot of conversations. So everybody in this room is also part of the education effort. Technology. We've, as I just mentioned, the privacy chain effort. That's been a real opportunity. Shaley and the IAB Tech Lab has actually taken over a proof of concept project in the last 6 months. Arthur Coleman, who's now very deep in a new job for about 6 months, proved how damn hard you can work with a group of people and move that massively forward. We're now actually taking stock and we're going to reset our efforts with that group, but there's a huge amount of potential there to prove out and move not just individual case. Right now we have like a lot of individual companies here are using open blockchain technology, but we don't have any like consortia chains or any consortia ledgers running. And so we're looking at possibly extending that way with the privacy chain product to kind of prove out that push the borders what we can do, share identity, and basically move that consensus forward. And so that's like really exciting. Smart contract. I mean, NIAX is here in the room, obviously. They have the leading thoughts on that. I mean, Lucidity also has thoughts on it. A lot of the other companies in here are also thinking about smart contracts and how those are actually going to help us execute that interaction between the buy and sell side. Everybody here is interested in that. We're having conversations on what it actually takes to get a smart contract running in the real world, not just up on a whiteboard. That's a lot of work, but we're having some really smart people are contributing a lot of very helpful effort and a lot of thought on that, and that's pretty incredible. Finally, standards. I've already mentioned a consortia chain. To get consortias up, we need to have standards. We're moving forward to that. And payments come out once you get everything standardized. How do you settle a contract? Multiple ways to do that. You do not have to use cryptocurrency if your company doesn't want to. Like my company, your cryptocurrency, CFO bursts into flames. So you can do it the other ways, but you can also use cryptocurrency. Finally, network pilots. We've had a lot of interest. You can see the names up there. We're moving kind of just from proving to people that you can actually store data on a blockchain to you can do things with this data on the blockchain you can't do with a standardized database, which is kind of blowing some minds. And the other thing is we're starting to get a good feeling for best practices. And it's not just from what we're doing inside the working group. We're also observing the larger blockchain ecosystems, and we've learned some interesting lessons at other people's expenses. Like we've watched some of like the smaller cryptocurrencies implode because of the lack of distribution. We're not going to do that. And so one of the major purposes here is we also have conversations. We not only do our internal testing, we're watching people outside, and so there's a lot of conversations, not only on like the calls, but also between people. And we encourage people to interact with each other. So, did I do a good job?
Yeah, I think the one thing I just want to add. Yeah.
Sorry, better? Okay.
So one thing I'll add. We did put. Wow, imagine technology. We did put 2 projects on hold just to be clear. So Michael's gone through everything else here, but we decided that we would pause the taxonomy group work that we had, mostly because we needed some of the other work to be done before that was useful, and there's also a broader effort going on inside the rest of the IAB Tech Lab around that area. So although we did some good work there, it's sort of paused. So second point was we had another group which was had some great ideas around data analytics, but again, we needed to have the previous two things done before we could make progress on those two efforts. So those are on hold. Just wanted to make sure that's clear in case anyone was still engaging, wanted to engage in